Get 32 sets of teeth now. We day here to make you shine them where? We be 32 FM 94.9.
Hello, this is John Bennett from BBC Sports. You're listening to 32 FM 94.9.
The best players in the world and their best plays. It's sports on 32 FM 94.9.
The best players in the world and their best plays.
Magic again. Messi through 4. Brilliant! Threads it in. And there's the goal from Pedro.
It's sports on 32 FM 94.9.
All right, welcome and good afternoon to you out there. It's 94.9 32 FM. I am pretend the end will come. Okay, the end for football, that's what I'm saying now. I've got SAMIES there with me, the MPFL match day 38. Yes, we know. Yes, I said we know the champions. We know the team playing on the continent. Maybe those that will be going down is what we don't know. The remaining teams that will be going down. Or team that will be going down. Team. Okay. For La Liga, we also know the champions and the other guys that are falling to the playoff or relegation battle. But hey, in Italy, we don't know where it is going to end tonight, in Naples or in Milan. And the Italian Football Authority say, we're not going to have this play on a Saturday or on a Sunday. We're going to bring it to Friday because there might be consequences in terms of the game tonight. If it ends that both teams finish with the same number of points, we have to go into a playoff, which I learned will be next week, Monday. I say Monday. That's too close. Well, it is what it is. We're going to start on that note. The Premier League also will come to the end, but not the end like end. Because for Liverpool, this is the end. For Arsenal, yes, the end. But for some teams, it is not. They have to go get the results somewhere. All right, SAMIES, it's a pleasure having you join me on the show. Let's start with the Italian Serie A because there will be two games later tonight. Como will be home against Inter Milan. Napoli will be at home in Naples at the Diego Armando Maradona Stadium in Naples, where they'll be playing against Cagliari tonight. SAMIES, I know you want to say Napoli play at home. The fans are gathered. They've been rushing the ticket to buy the ticket. But you know how these things are. If Napoli was maybe not in this position, maybe you don't have the fans coming in numbers. So I don't know, maybe the fans are coming in from Turin, from Milan, from the other few cities in Italy to see the game tonight. And for Inter, they play against Como. How do you expect Inter? Let's start with Inter. Let's hold on a bit for Napoli. How do you expect Inter to go into this game, knowing that they've got one eye in the UEFA Champions League final next week, Saturday, against Paris Saint-Germain? SAMIES.
Well, good afternoon to everyone, just like you greeted all who has joined us. And, this weekend happens to be maybe the biggest game in Italian football in many years. Why have I said this? Is because the title race is down to the last day of this Serie A season. But then I look at how both teams they fared this season. Kudos to both teams. And for Inter Milan, where you said we should start off from, well, I just look at Inter Milan. Yes, they've done everything in their might to win titles this season. And they have one idea in the UEFA Champions League final set to be played in Munich, and that's against Paris Saint-Germain. But then you look at them, how have they fared this season in their gameplay? It's all about what they've done in the past, and I think it was in the month of March when they were winless in 3 games. That was where they lost the title. I would actually be factual with that. They lost the title. And then where I said I give kudos to what they've done is in the Italian Serie A, or let's say in the world of football, they were the only one who vied for 4 titles. They got to the finals of the Super Coppa Italia, where they lost to AC Milan in Saudi Arabia. They got to the semi-finals of the Coppa Italia. They lost to AC Milan over that on an aggregate scoreline. They lost by that a 1-0 in the second leg. And then you talk about the Italian Serie A as well, where they are in the title race until the last day. And in the UEFA Champions League, they got to the semi-finals and ensured that they made it to the finals after defeating Barcelona. That's 7-6 on an aggregate scoreline. So you say that all of these things that have happened to Inter Milan, Simone Inzaghi, it's actually a good one. And then this one just happens to be that they fell short just once this season, and that is where Napoli they have the advantage at this point in time. But maybe you will count it at those times where they failed to win games. That was when they lost some of their key players. Talk about key players. There's Dumfries, whom we know is such a brilliant that's a wing back. We'll talk about Lautaro Martinez, the Argentine as well, same as that's Marcus Thuram, the French forward. So they lost these 3 players at a point this season, and maybe that period was the time they lost the 3 of them at once. So that was where they lost the title. That's going into the last day of the Italian Serie A season. But for me, they've done their bit. If they can't win this, they should focus on the one that is set to go down. That's on Saturday. That's the 31st of this month. But then we also say that if eventually there's a way, or it happens miraculously, where they share the spoils, and the reason why or how that can happen is for Napoli to drop points. I mean, lose their game at home today to the hands of Cagliari, and Inter Milan draws away from home against Como. That's the only way we can see a playoff. Remember, for 5 games down to the end of the season, it was all about these 2 teams on level on points. But the results kept following each other. Winless. They drew. Inter Milan, Napoli also drew. Then another game, they drew. Inter Milan drew. Then Napoli won. Inter Milan won. And then it happened that Inter Milan were on the verge of winning, while Napoli drew their game. But it happens that for Inter Milan, they just fell short in that game. That was last weekend.
All right, so last weekend, it was a moment for watching 2 games, Parma, Napoli, and Inter against Lazio. Let's talk about Napoli Football Club. First question, SAMIES, is this an advantage for Napoli, knowing that all they need to do tonight is smoke Cagliari in Naples? Just smoke them, and they're winning this Scudetto. On the other hand, also, the advantage was Napoli's advantage. Why did I say that? They were not playing any. They were not distracted for Champions League, for UEFA Cup, for Conference League. They had a bit of distraction in terms of the Coppa Italia. They were sent packing early. They paid attention on the league. Does all of this play to the advantage? Tonight, at home, and of course, during the course of the season, they had no distraction.
Well, I would say that for Napoli, kudos to where they are at this point, because you see that 15, 16 teams in the league are also in the same situation Napoli Football Club are in at the start of the season, but they were unable to rack up points to be at the top of the table. But for Napoli, I would say, like I've always said, I'm disappointed in what or how close the title chase is this season. I know people would say that there were lots of outs in the side this season compared to the side that won the league 2 seasons ago. The Victor Osimhen, the 𝐒𝐿 Kvaratskhelia, who else? Anguissa is still there. And then you talk about the players they have now. And if they actually fall short of not winning the title, who is to be blamed? The manager. I would blame Antonio Conte for that. Because this man said, or he listed, or he pointed at what he wanted this season. And then the board, I think they backed him up by getting the players he said he wanted. And those he said he wants out, they were out of the club side as well. So 𝐒𝐿 Kvaratskhelia, one of those players. Victor Osimhen, also one of those players. And then he came in with his own choice. Romelu Lukaku, David Neres, Scott McTominay, whom in my own book is the Italian Serie A signing of the season. Even if you can look at larger in the world of football for the 2024-2025 football season, it happens to be Scott McTominay. Clutch moment from the Scot, where he is getting goals. But then they were not distracted from any competition aside from the domestic cup games that they are playing. For Inter Milan, like I said, kudos to them. They got to the penultimate stages of most of these competitions. The Italian Supercoppa Italia semi-final, final, the Coppa Italia semi-finals, Champions League semi-finals. Now they are in the finals, and even these, the penultimate stage, they are still contesting for the league. And so I'm not really excited and happy with how Napoli failed to open a wide margin. At the start of the season, they had that gap. It was Napoli and Atlanta Football Club at the start of the season. But what do we have now? Napoli, Atlanta themselves, they have 74 points. And so you look at Napoli, Atlanta that were winless in like 5 games. They have 74 points. And then you look at the margin between these sides. Inter has 78. Napoli, they have 79 points. I'm very sure you are surprised with where Atlanta, the points that they've racked up.
Yeah.
Because in their last 5 games also, they actually drew just 1. So for Napoli, I'm not really excited. But if one thing would happen tonight, I just want Inter Milan to win the title because of the strength, the doggedness all of these players gave into this this year's football season. This year's football season, they really gave in a lot. But if eventually they get to the playoffs, it's going to take a toll on them because they just have one game on Saturday when the whole world will be watching.
All right, so still staying with Italian Serie A because we know that Napoli, Inter Milan, Atalanta, Bergamo, they've qualified for the UEFA Champions League, but one more spot remaining. I'll tell you how those games will go down later today, on Sunday now, because we've got 2 today and the others coming in after. So Atalanta will play against Parma. We know how that is. Lazio will play against Lecce. There's something there for Lazio, and they'll be watching the game in Turin between Torino and AS Roma. And of course, Venezia will be home against Juventus Football Club. As it stands right now, like Samis was pointing out the last few minutes, Napoli, Inter. Napoli on 79, Inter on 78, Atalanta, Bergamo on 74, Juventus C on 67, AS Roma, check it out, on 66, and Lazio on 65. It's all to play for this weekend. Now, staying with all to play for this weekend, we'll come and talk about the MPFL in a jiffy. All to play for SAMIES this weekend in the English Premier League. Let's quickly get across to the Premier League quickly here. Nottingham Forest, City Ground, they play against Chelsea. Chelsea manager Maresca said earlier today during his press conference, if there's anywhere we can go to win, City Ground is one of those home grounds that we can get to win games. Not just that, Manchester United will be up against Aston Villa. How will United approach this game after what happened to them in the city of Bilbao on Wednesday night, where they lost to Spurs by 1-0 in the UEFA Cup? Now, still staying with more of the possibilities, more of the chances. We'll be seeing another game, and that will be involving Fulham at Craven Cottage against Manchester City. So, Samis, maybe we can do this very fast because we still have more picks on the show this afternoon. Where with all of these pan out, Arsenal, Manchester City, bye-bye, au revoir. You guys are good to go. Yes, we know they've got a game coming up. Arsenal and Liverpool, rather, good to go. They've all sorted out all of this playing out with them. So we have to put our attention on Craven Cottage, attention on Old Trafford, attention also on City Ground. So, Samis, how many are we counting here? Spurs have got Champions League football. So 2 teams from North London will have the Champions League anthem played on their ground. So Arsenal and Spurs and Liverpool, there will be 3 more to join. Samis, how will these 3 happen? One heavyweight must fall. If Nottingham should fall, maybe that will be no news. It's like saying man biting dog. But this one, I don't know how it's going to play out. Samis, if you know how it's going to play out, share with me in the next few minutes. Let's start with this crucial game as we hit the business end of the English Premier League.
Well, all right. Match day 38 set to go down there in the English Premier League. But I'll just call our attention to the last 3 match days. That's 35, 36, 37. Then the English Premier League, where almost all of these sides who are in contention to play that UEFA Champions League football. I think a few of them were up against each other. Arsenal were up against Newcastle. And then I'll tell you that, for another side, Aston Villa, they were in action against Tottenham. And then they talk about Arsenal and Liverpool also still playing that game where the game ended 2-2. Newcastle defeated Chelsea Football Club in the last 3 games by 2-0. So, but going into this weekend, you've listed those games that Manchester United, whom of course in any way, no magic is possible. They can play European football next season. They'll be up against Aston Villa. And for Aston Villa, on the other hand, they'll be looking that their other oppositions drop points. But for me, it is all about this side set to go on against each other. And that's Nottingham Forest against Chelsea Football Club. No matter which way, one of this side would play in the UEFA Champions League, and one won't play in the UEFA. Will play in the UEFA Europa League, and that's down to how the result goes for them. The reason why I singled out Nottingham Forest against the Chelsea Football Club, if you take a look at the standard for Chelsea, they have 66 points. Nottingham Forest, they have 65 points, and they are seated in the Europa Conference League spot. So for Nottingham Forest to get a victory, they are playing in the UEFA Champions League. That's as simple as that. If they get maximum 3 points, that's how many? 65 plus 3, that's 68 points. And then it happens that Newcastle will be also open to win their game.
Oh, I didn't mention Newcastle in all of these mix.
So it will be down to Newcastle
play against Everton.
Everton Football Club. And remember, Everton, that's not it's an away game for them, and they played their last home game against Southampton last weekend. But now, going into these games, I just singled out Nottingham Forest against the Chelsea Football Club as the biggest one set to go down, because the fate of playing in the UEFA Champions League lies in the hands of this side. And I'll go back to David 𝐒𝐿, who said weeks ago that Nottingham Forest won't finish above Chelsea. You know, it can happen. That is just
Chelsea and Manchester City.
And so it can still happen. But for Manchester City, I think they just have the better goal difference at this point. So that is not possible, because City, they have 68 points going into their last game.
So technically, you think City are out of all of this?
Technically, yes, they are playing at home. I guess.
No, they're playing away.
They're playing away. The first leg ended 3-3.
You know, I said, take it back to that slide. They are on 68 points.
68 points.
Newcastle on what?
66.
Chelsea on what?
66.
What?
Aston Villa 66.
Oh, it's not. If all of these teams should win that game and City fail to win there, City are out of the Champions League.
So you look at it, City are not out of the Champions League. Nottingham Forest against Chelsea. That's going to be the decider of who is going to play in the Champions League or the UEFA Europa League.
I'm just saying, based on this, what we have right in front of us.
Based on what we have.
If Newcastle get to win, they're on 69. One. If Chelsea win their game.
So that's why I'm picking out Chelsea and Nottingham Forest are the only side going on against each other in the race for UEFA Champions League.
I understand. But what I'm saying here is that if Chelsea get to win that game, they're on 69.
Okay.
Right?
Yes.
If Newcastle get to win that game, they're on what?
69.
69. So, and City on 68.
If Villa wins, they're on 69.
That means if all of these teams will pass City, if City don't win that game,
if City doesn't win their
that's
game.
That's what I'm saying.
But what happens if they draw?
No. I'm just on winning their game.
On winning their games. So we also look at it from the angle of Nottingham Forest, who shot themselves in the foot.
No, see, like I said the other time, if Forest gets a Champions League, good for them. Where they are now, they've qualified for a European place.
Champions League.
Maybe Champions League, UEFA Cup or Conference League. They have something to hold on to. But if they want more, then that's when they want to beat Chelsea.
But personally, for me, I see the Conference League as just an easy bit for them, something they can win. Because, in 2 seasons, we've seen English sides go to the Conference League and they've won it.
All right, so let's move on quickly here. We'll see how we can put all of this together on Saturday when we come. On Saturday, on the pitch, on this dial, we're going to be having the Championship Playoff Final. And that will see Sunderland up against Sheffield. And so that will be live from 3:05. And of course, at the point in time, we also have a mix of the Women Champions League final between Lisbon, right? That will be Football Club Barcelona against Arsenal Women. So you've got a loaded package of the pitches weekend. You don't want to miss that for anything. Now talking about the weekend, the next weekend we're having the UEFA Champions League final. And we've said so many times how you go about it. It's absolutely free. The venue is secured already. Race course amphitheater. That's where we'll be playing and of course be dancing to some good music, and of course you also stand a chance to win something from 4 p.m. Just get into that venue and come have some fun with a few fans. Not just have fun, you also get to win something. So our partners, Bet Great, also will be there with loads of gifts to give away. And it's a few times that they were here, they said to us, you just have to get that Bet Great on your phone, ensure that you sign on, and ensure you stake. And ensure that your stake is PSG against Inter Milan, and you don't have to go anywhere. If you want to win something on that night, you don't go anywhere. You have bikes, you have generators, you have phones, you have jerseys, you have fans to win. Not just Bet Great, also Penalty Card. These guys are the ones in terms of Imperial Blue. They also will be there with so much to drink and to enjoy. Hey, let me also say, SAMIES, for those who don't know, if you're not plus 18, don't come on. No show. Okay, so I'll be talking more about that subsequently on this day. Sammy, let's talk about the NPFL. And right in front of me here, I've been looking at all of these that will play out. It's not a race to win the league, unlike what they have in Italy, or qualify for Champions League or the Comfort Cup, because that is secured already. Sammy, it's a place for staying up in the league. Now, take a look at what I have right in front of me. Castilla United, Academy was Heartland, and Aqua United. Where will all of this be playing out? Sammy, if you have the fixtures with you, share with me, and let me see what I can do in terms of the NPFL.
For Niger Tornadoes, who are 14th on the log, yes, maybe you can tell that they are safe from relegation. 48 points. Yes, absolutely. They are safe from relegation. But you talk about Katsina United, El Kanami Warriors. For Katsina, they are 15th. They have 47 points. El Kanami Warriors, who get promotion into the top flight at the early stages of the season.
They are on what?
They are on 16th position.
They have 46 points.
They have 46 points.
Okay, so hold it there. They'll be playing against Sunshine Stars at home. Sunshine Stars, they are condemned. So you expect, based on what we have seen over the years, Academy to get this one done.
Well,
no, there's no well here.
Away from home.
They are playing at home.
At home.
Yes, against Sunshine Stars. What's
okay?
Sunshine Stars are down and out.
Okay.
So that's why I'm saying you should give me the field so I can go ahead and pick. Castellan will play against Kwara United. Kwara United will still be in that euphoria of
playing in
the FA Cup
final.
In the FA Cup final.
FA Cup final, rather.
Playing the FA Cup final. So kind of good for them. Maybe relax a little bit. I'm not saying they're going to relax, but you know how these things work out. Prepare, save the boys for the big one, which is the FA Cup final against Abakaliki. Now they play against Castellan United, also will be looking for the point. What if they get the point, Samis? Now you have to put both that game, Castellan and Academy, into the equation. If these two teams get to win their game, they don't care what Heartland and Aqua does in the other game. Now, guess what will be happening? For Aqua United, they will be playing their game against Heartland. So
away from home. Two teams who are in that relegation zone will play against each other. So for me, Castellan and Academy Warriors will get it. Are safe. And so Heartland and what's the name now? Heartland and Aqua United. Just join Sunshines and Lobby Stars in the net for next season. That's my take. I don't know your take, Sam. Well, I think it has gone down to this. But if Academy Warriors actually stay put in the Nigeria Premier Football League, which definitely is looking like it, just like we had in the English Premier League, Nottingham Forest play against Chelsea in a race for UEFA Champions League. Yeah. It's the same in the Italian. In the Nigeria Premier Football League. I get your mood is just finish here, do a few things in the office and go home and watch the two games tonight. So it's just the same between Heartland and Oka United. That's in the Nigeria Premier Football League. Right. But then this season, I think it's just down to how both teams started this season and their late run in the NPFL. All right, so there will be two cup finals this weekend. Very key games. The one that we saw over the last few days is done. Now, I'm saying the one we saw was the Benfica Sporting Lisbon fight to finish in the Portuguese Liga. And of course, we know how that happened. In case you don't know, Sporting Lisbon end up winning the league on the last day. But these two again will be doing battle this weekend for the cup game. That's the Portuguese Cup final this weekend. And Benfica will be playing against Sporting Lisbon. Also this weekend in the German League also, they've got the German DFB Pokal happening also this weekend. This weekend also is the French Cup final, and that will see PSG against Reims. There's so much in terms of the final going down this weekend. But Samis, I'd like you to share your thought. But before that, maybe you should share that thought. And then we'll wrap up with Carlo Ancelotti and look at saying farewell or bye to the Bernabeu Farm this weekend. But start with the cup game, Sporting Lisbon against Benfica. There's the DFB Pokal also happening on Saturday evening. And of course, that will see Arminia Bielefeld against VfB Stuttgart. One coming from the German second division and the other one played in the first division but struggled a bit. Start straight from the Coupe de France where it's expected that Paris Saint-Germain would win against the Reims in the finals of
that's the French Cup. Win, but it's not certain.
Expected to win,
but it's not certain.
In football, 2 plus 2 won't give you 4.
It can be 22
on most occasions, or let's say rare occasions. It's not going to give you 4. But then you look at Paris Saint-Germain, verge of making history also within French football. If they win this, they will be opener to win at the UEFA Champions League also to complete the treble there in French football. But then you go straight to the other one that's for Benfica against Sporting. I remember that just 2 weeks ago, it was that Sporting who got a draw against Benfica to actually put themselves on the verge of winning the league. But last weekend, it happened that they won the league as well when they defeated Vitória by 2 goals to 0. But this is another one also. Di Maria is going to be leaving this club side. Right. And they would be hoping to leave with a medal as well. And also with the futures of Victor Gyökeres, the Swedish international, where definitely would be hoping to also win a title, if at all, is going to leave at this side. So I'm actually going to be sitting on the fence for this game, set to go down between this side.
Be careful kind of fence you sit on.
I'm not going to fall.
I'm not strong enough for you to sit on.
I'm not going to fall. How many lovers of Benfica and Sporting do we have out there? So that's why I'm just sitting on the fence.
You're safe on that fence. Another final will be the Scottish Cup final, Aberdeen against Celtic. So SAMIES, as we wrap up the show in the next 120 seconds. Carlo, bye. Luca, bye.
For these great La Decima, it was these guys that who won the La Decima for Real Madrid in the year 2013-14 season.
Yeah, 2013-14 season.
13-14 season.
Yes.
And it has been a great ride. 2 stints
and
with Real Madrid.
With all 3 characters in all of these. Xiabi Alonso is coming in. Luca is going out.
It was also part of that team then.
So that's something.
I think that was his last season. That was his last season before he joined the Bayern Munich. Yeah. So you say that, this man is actually a good one. And the only loyal servants are still remaining from that winning side that happens to be the captain, Dani Carvajal, at this point. Yeah. So you look at these 2 men who are leaving this club side. Good one. But on the other hand, for Real Madrid, how are they going to replace these legends?
They've not replaced
Toni Kroos, even Cristiano Ronaldo.
So what it means is that
you look at it from that side, they've not replaced Marcelo well enough. They've not replaced Sergio Ramos well enough.
They're looking at the Portuguese.
They've not replaced Sergio Ramos well enough.
I'm trying to put all of this on the table for you. They're still looking for replacement for Luka. They've not been able to spot one. The one they probably will be looking at is Florian Wirtz from Bayer Leverkusen. That might cost them a lot of money. There are also news about getting the Galactico after the Club World Cup this year. So many things are just packed in. The front 3 for Real.
They've not been replaced.
Benzema.
Nobody comes close.
But when they all left, when they all left, they've won the Champions League. So cut them some slack.
When they all left,
yes.
Now they still had that firepower midfield.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying now.
Casemiro,
yes. I'm jumping.
No,
I just jump it now. For the front 3, they've all gone. Casemiro left to join Manchester United. Toni Kroos retired from football. Didn't get another club side. Luka is the last in that midfield trio who is also leaving. So for the defensive line that you did mention, Dani Carvajal is the only one remaining there. The others are absolutely known to the squad. So we wait to see how Xiabi Alonso will go about and Florentino Perez. We'll see how they want to go get players that will freshen the side. But first, they'll have a league game coming up on Saturday, 3:15 against Real Sociedad, and that will be the parting shot for both Carlo Ancelotti, who said earlier today that I'm happy, I'm not leaving Real to join the club side, I'm leaving Real to join the national team. That's what I want because my heart and my soul is with Real. Just surprised as a man who played for AC Milan and of course helped them to win as a player and as a coach. But that is what you get in the world of football. We'll be here on Saturday from 3 p.m. The BBC will help us from 3:05 to cover the championship final between Sheffield United and Sunderland. We'll see you all on Monday, but that will be 7:45 for Scoreboard in 15. We'll try and see how we can do when we come on Saturday, if the BBC will permit us to share some of the time. If not, the BBC will be here for all of that. So keep it right here, 94.9, 32 FM. I am Peter Omar. I've done